3, 2, 1.
This podcast contains content that may be disturbing for some listeners and is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
In the dense forest, something moves. You hear it before you see it. A shadow between the trees, a branch cracking when no one's there. Some say it's just the wind. Others, they call it Bigfoot. But what happens when someone spends their life chasing this legend? Tonight, we step into the world of the unknown with our special guest, Blake Duescher, Bigfoot investigator and host of Lost Cryptid Conservatory on YouTube. Welcome to Unusual Curiosity. I'm Tracy.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Taylor.
Welcome, Blake, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is my favorite unusual topic, and I'm so excited to have you join us. Let's start at the beginning. What drew you into the world of Bigfoot hunting? Was there a moment, a story that pulled you in?
As a young kid, probably around 5 and 6, my dad started talking about the Patterson film and Bigfoot and being able to watch that in theaters when he was a kid. And we would watch shows on the History Channel, and Sci-Fi Channel had like sightings and stuff. And they had the Loch Ness Monster, aliens, and ghosts, but the most prominent thing for me was Bigfoot, and that captured my attention at a young age. One time at my grandma's, around 6 years old, finishing up chores with my dad, I looked down the path, and there was a Bigfoot that crossed two trees and stuff. And I called for my dad and we ran over there, and there was nothing there. And of course, he kind of shrugged it off and said it was my imagination. But I was always adamant that it was real, and even now I can remember the image of it in between the two trees. But after that, I started reading books when I was older and piquing my curiosity and watching more shows. And around at 13 is when I had my first true encounter, what I consider, and that's what really hooked into me, and I've been searching for Sasquatch and Bigfoot ever since.
What area did you grow up in?
Lower Michigan, mid-Michigan.
Like a forested area?
No, just the country.
Just the country?
Yeah, nothing special. It could be anywhere in the countryside in the rural U.S. It's about the same.
Do you have a mentor in the field?
When I was younger, I read John Green's book and considered that probably the mentorship, and really fascinating book and stuff, describing different encounters and sightings and behaviors for Sasquatch. So I would have to give him credit.
Do you think Bigfoot is a physical creature, a spiritual being, or something else entirely?
Well, I believe it's definitely a physical creature based on my experiences, and I can't rule out the other things quite yet, because every time it seems like I experience Bigfoot, or most people experience Bigfoot, they kind of vanish or mysteriously leave. And is it physical? Is it spiritual? Is there something else? And until we get a body or actual scientific proof, I don't think the mystery is going to go away.
Yeah. Do you think? Do you believe in the cloaking theory?
Yes and no. I've experienced stuff out in the woods where I couldn't see something and it was walking next to me. Is that Bigfoot? I'm not quite sure. I've not seen a Bigfoot cloak in front of me, so I can't say. But I think there's a lot of weird stuff out there in the woods that might get in the way, or might be misinterpreted as a Bigfoot.
When you're out in the field, what does your Bigfoot expedition look like?
It really depends on if I'm by myself or I have a group of people, and what the capabilities of those people are. If I'm by myself, or I have a couple of good physically strong people that can walk miles and miles in the woods, typically we'll walk about 10 miles in a weekend, go scout around for different areas to go walk at nighttime, set out recorders, have cameras running, and then use our thermals and night vision at nighttime to get evidence.
Do you usually go to state land or public land, or do you get permission to go on people's private property?
All of it. We have private property access to a couple of spots, and then there's a lot of national parks and state parks and recreational areas and nature preserves and a lot of little spots that you can go.
Do you think that, like, when you go to public areas that are generally kind of busy with people, do you think Bigfoots go there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because whether or not they're staying there full time is another story, but definitely traveling and migrating through areas. Having people on the trail system or riding horses and walking their dog, usually those people will stay on the trail system. They have a set routine. They don't deviate really much from that going off the trail. So until hunting season, really, I mean, people in a recreational area are not really concerned, in my view, because they stay on the trail or the main active activity areas.
How do you decide where the hot zones are?
Honestly, just experience and going to spots that over the years have produced weird stuff or encounters or evidence.
So I know we recently had a Bigfoot sighting in Michigan, in Monroe, I think middle of May. And it was in an area that most people doubted there would be a Bigfoot. And I know you went to investigate that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did. It was May 18th it happened, 11:30 in the morning. A man and his boy went out to go bow fishing on Plum Creek in Monroe, Michigan. They went down the creek, and when they got in between the two railroad bridges that are out there, I believe they first said they startled something, and they thought it was deer. They went out towards the swamp, and there was something else that was making this, I think it broke down some trees and stuff, and was kind of freaking them out a little bit. And as they made their way back up, they stopped because they were hearing cop sirens in the background. And the dad pulled out his phone and was going to look at the scanner app and stuff, and all of a sudden this Bigfoot jumped out of his tree and started rushing towards the dad and his son, and the dog reacted and scared the Bigfoot off, and it ran up the embankment, disappearing and stuff. And so I went out there. I think that happened on the 18th. I got out there, and like 3 days after that, when I investigated, there was nothing in the area. Nothing jumped out of the tree for me, but I did notice where they said they were hearing stuff. There was this nesting area where something was laying down, which what the witnesses described, and also the area where the Sasquatch jumped out of the tree. I did find a track and possible path where it had been going up and down the embankment. And when it went back down the other side. So I think there was something physically there that they seen. It's a spot where Bigfoot would not be, you would think Bigfoot is not known to be there, but in the 1960s, the Monroe Monster was a Bigfoot event that happened over a couple of years in 1965, where a Sasquatch Bigfoot was harassing the townsfolk, and there was one mother and daughter that actually hit one. It busted the window, reached in, grabbed the girl, smacked her on the windshield. She actually went to the sheriffs, and they did an affidavit and got heavily ridiculed and stuff. And so they got the affidavit and did a couple interviews, but after the ridicule, they kind of just stopped talking about it and shied away from it. So it's in one of the same areas where some of those creatures were seen back in the 60s.
Yeah, I did an aerial view of the area to kind of look at it, and it is surrounded by more urban areas, but there's paths that are rural, that in forested or whatever, that it could move through. And if it moved through at night, because it seems like more of a commercial area, businesses and stuff, nobody would be there. You know?
Exactly.
So I could see that happening.
Do you ever get scared going out there, especially when you're by yourself?
All the time. As much as I don't admit it, I mean, those thoughts are naturally just going to you, and usually it is always by myself, especially at nighttime, and there's nothing even really going on, but you go in a dark spot or you go into the bushes and you can't see anything, and the first thought that always comes into my head is this: would seeing these things spider crawl on all fours and then just start eating me without killing me first. And after that runs through my head a couple of times, and I always think back, well, nothing's really ever happened yet. I'm still here, so I usually get over it and just push through, and kind of have to.
Yeah, you mentioned spider crawl. That would freak me out.
I'd shit my pants.
It's so demonic to see that, but it is kind of a primate thing. Like you think of a sloth or something that kind of stretches out to walk, and I have heard other people that have had sightings say that, but it's so creepy.
Yeah, sloth is a good comparison actually to the one I seen in Florida. He was his arm movement was like a sloth reaching out.
So tell us about the sighting that you had in Florida.
I have a couple different sightings, and we could probably fill up some time. But in Florida. I was part of the 168 expedition, and that was with Carrie Arnold, the late Carrie Arnold of Bigfoot Odyssey. And basically, there was a number of Florida researchers and Carrie were adamant that Bigfoot was in these areas, and set up a big expedition for a week with lots of different researchers from around the country. Luckily, I was able to go with a couple of my members here in Michigan, and we went to some different areas and had a bunch of stuff happen, but we went to the Four Corners area, and I was with Christopher Noel, and we went up the trail, and there was this bush line, and we were hearing stuff. We weren't quite sure if it was Bigfoot or if it was something else like bullfrogs, and I was sticking my hand in there with an apple trying to get them to get it. And we met up with the other guys, and they were saying that they had stuff happen to them, and this one guy was freaked out because he was kind of skeptical, and he said that something came up and knocked his huge flashlight out of his hands, and it flew up and broke. They were having stuff around them, and so when we met up, we talked and discussed what we were going to do, and me and the other researcher just kind of stayed there with the main camera. We were filming. They went into the brush and were trying to go after the thing that was following them. And I'm talking to my buddy, and I have the camera facing the trail, and I look back and I look again down the trail, and I see this creature crawl out, and it's a humanoid creature, and it, does the spider crawl thing, but it's like reaching out like a sloth, and it goes like this, and then it whips its head around, and I see its cranium and stuff. It has short fur, and it's like a short-haired dog, but very long and lengthy, maybe 6-7 feet tall, but it wasn't massively built like a bodybuilder. It was very lengthy and skinny, actually, and very creepy movement. It looked at me, and when it realized I seen it, it whipped its head back and bulldozed right to the other group of people, and I radioed in, this thing crossed the trail. It's right next to you. It's right next to you. They probably didn't hear me at first, but when I explained to them, they were like, yeah, we hear something around us. And I mean, after about 20 minutes of going back and forth, they thought it was a pig or something, and we later reviewed the footage and stuff, and there was something that crossed the trail, and so that was pretty creepy. The spider crawling stuff is very creepy looking.
Were you able to make out any like facial features?
Yes.
Does it give you nightmares?
No, I don't have nightmares anymore. Anymore, yeah.
Or any less.
Growing up, after 6, seeing the one at 6, I had nightmares after that, for sure. No, what I remember the most is seeing it's how skinny and lack of hair and stuff. Very short hair. Didn't have long hair at all. Very humanoid looking, but it didn't look like quite human and stuff. It looked more like a monkey face kind of a thing. Not really. To me, it looked like it had fur on his cheekbone, but I'm not quite sure because I was super close to it. But
do you think the short hair is like a climate thing?
Oh yeah, it was super hot in Florida, and the only time it was nice is from like 3 a.m. to like just before the sun comes up. So there's only like 3 or 4 hour period of when it's actually nice to be outside.
Yeah, they call them skunk apes in Florida, right? Yeah. Do they stink? Imagine like hot and humid.
Didn't smell anything.
Really?
I went right over there. I didn't smell anything. I even looked for tracks and stuff, and other than pushed down grass, there wasn't any definitive footprints. We got tracks from around camp and stuff. We assumed from it was an individual and other people seen, but you can watch that documentary on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff. There was going to be like a part 2 and a bunch of evidence on a 4 terabyte hard drive, but it was kind of hard to find some of the evidence, and Carrie ended up actually passing away, and unfortunately, so that footage and some other good stuff is still on there. But
and if someone wanted to find that, where would they go?
You can go on YouTube and go to Bigfoot Odyssey's Bigfoot YouTube channel, or the 168 a Bigfoot Odyssey.
Okay.
And that's the title of the documentary.
So that was the first Florida sighting you had, right?
Yeah.
Did you have another here?
The last night, second to last night, we split off with the Michigan team to a new area. We were hearing stuff around us. Another researcher was hanging back and having stuff happen. I walked up and I'm using the night vision, and I see a big single red-eyed ball looking at me. And I come up to it and I'm filming, and I'm using the walkie-talkie to bring other people, and I'm shining the IR light, so I don't have a flashlight, but the creature is reacting like I'm shining a beam of light on it, even though there's no light. And
because it was seeing the IR.
I assume so, yeah. And so I captured that. That was on the documentary, and that's on my YouTube of the Florida red eye shine, or red eye glow.
Do you think, so a lot of people have trail cams, don't ever get anything, maybe just like a brief second of something blurring off the side or something. But do you think it's because of the IR lights that they use that the Sasquatch can see that and just kind of veer clear of that areas?
I think it's a couple things. They could probably see the IR light, but also it's not natural in the environment, so like they will be able to pick it out. I've had deer that will look right at the camera. The smelling of the plastic is not natural. Mm-hmm. So anything that's strapped to a tree that's not natural, I think the Bigfoot can instantly tell. And they even primates, when they put out trail cameras for like chimpanzees and gorillas, they avoid them naturally because it's something new in the environment. So
yeah, and most animals do. Even if you have domestic animals and you change something, they don't go near it right away. So you're preparing to go out to do investigation. What do you take with you? How do you prepare for that?
It depends on where I'm going. Like we go up north or some areas where there's bear and stuff, I carry a rifle and will be armed more heavily than like down here and stuff. But I'm always usually armed or have a knife or something, just because you never know. You should always have like some type of camera or audio recorder on you, something you can place out, and if you can afford like night vision and thermal and stuff. But the main thing is just to go out there, I would say, with just an audio recorder and a camera, because if something starts happening, you can turn those things on and you can show something that actually happened. If you have an encounter, at least you'll have a recording of it in some form.
What's the one piece of equipment that probably has brought most value to you as far as investigations?
I think the audio equipment is a nice passive research equipment that has got me some pretty interesting stuff. It's not as awesome as like when you're in the woods and something's happening and you're filming, because that's awesome. But opening up the recorder and listening to it and figuring out, what threw a rock at the tree and it's bouncing off all the branches and it's landing next to the recorder, or what picked up a stick and just went whoosh, whoosh. A deer doesn't do that.
No.
And so that it's actually a nice, easy, passive way that's bringing a lot of interesting stuff. So I like that. It's a lot easier to do, and anyone can do it.
Wood knocks, whistles, whoops.
Lots of tree knocks and some vocalization. Last February, I was out on location, and I was investigating. I heard a tree knock and a vocalization right after. and I was filming on the GoPro. So I caught that and went out of the woods, across the field into where there's this other section of woods. And I didn't go into the woods. I waited in the field for an hour listening, and nothing happened. I went back to my car, put the recorder onto the car, and about 30 minutes after that, I started hearing, and the recorder started picking up wood knocks. And in the next 2.5 hours, there was 36 wood knocks, 37 knocks. And there's different kinds, different tempos. There's solid baseball-sized knocking. There's double knocks, triple knocks, knock, knock, knock. Some you can tell are closer. Some are farther away. Some are smaller, not hit as hard. And some are just like someone hit it as hard as they could.
So they definitely have an organized way of communicating with each other.
Yeah, I've heard vocalizations and knocks and stuff. I'm not sure if the knocks are for them or for us or what all that means. Mm-hmm. That's a whole rabbit hole, but they definitely are doing that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about communication, how they communicate with each other. And you've heard some different, unique things happen out in the field. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've heard a couple different things, actually. The one big time I was on a piece of property, I was hunting for coyotes, and I seen a possum that was like 10 feet away, and I took a shot at him. I missed because it wasn't scoped in for that, and I was thinking, oh, my hunt's over with. I just messed up and alerted everything to my presence, and I'm walking up back to the house, and I get right next to the house, next to the side woods, and I hear the neighbor yelling at me, and I'm like, oh man, what the heck's he doing? I hear him yelling at it again, and I'm like, man, that really sucks. Like, why, that's the last thing I need. But it didn't sound right. And the third time he yelled at me, I instantly knew, oh my God, he's not speaking English. And the sounds that he was making was a mumbling yell, like a caveman. And I could tell it was a dude. He was mad at me. I thought it was the neighbor, but it was a guy. It wasn't an animal. And he started coming closer, yelling at me. And the fifth time, he had crossed the road, and he was in the woods coming towards me, but paralleling me. And then a female jumped in and was bickering back and forth as they were walking down till they got 100 yards out, paralleling me directly, and then they stopped, crept in closer. But when they were going back and forth, the male and female were like samurai chatter, talking, and the female, what I would describe as like a sing-song bird language, kind of a tony, fluty sound, and she was like, and he was going back and forth like a married couple. Like I had bumped into him at the bar, and his wife's pulling him back, saying, "No, Bob, don't go over there, Bob. He has a gun, Bob. You're just causing trouble, Bob. We don't need this, Bob. We don't need this." And apparently he listened or something, because they went quiet and slowly crept up to me. For the next 15 minutes, you could hear them slowly take their time and creep up. A little twig breaking here, a little rustle here, until the presence was so heavy right there that I couldn't stand it anymore. I did get scared. I went inside and grabbed even more guns to go to bed with, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if they were going to come and slap the house, if they were going to look through the windows, or God forbid, break in, because there are reports of that. And I made this guy mad. I don't know what he was going to do. If that female wasn't there, I'm not sure what he was going to do.
Probably whizzed a bullet by his head or something.
No, definitely not. But I spoiled his hunt, is the impression that I got.
That would make sense, yeah.
So, but it was a guy, it was a person. It wasn't animal language. It was people. Didn't know what language they spoke, but I could tell that was a guy and that was a woman, and they were bickering back and forth, like the example I gave.
Yeah, that's crazy. What's that feel like? Like you said, you get a heaviness. Is it like I don't even know how you would describe that. Evilness or like uncomfortable?
No, it's uncomfortable. It's your instincts are like picking up, like, and telling you, like, you should probably go inside now. It's never been evil or stuff like that. If I had those feelings, I don't think I'd be chasing Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long ago did that happen?
Oh, that was 2015, 2016, I want to say.
Was this at your home, your property?
No, this was at a ex-girlfriend's property.
Oh, okay. So, but it was at a home, like you were.
Yeah, it was at a home, like a country house, you
Okay.
know, and there was a house across the block, there was neighbors, you know, not super close like the city, but close enough that, you know, you have neighbors, you know, from here to there. And so he was basically yelling in between 4 houses, pretty close proximity, and anyone standing outside would have heard this.
And you didn't get a visual on them. You just
No.
the presence and the.
Oh
The
no,
chatter.
you could, yeah. He screamed at me, blatantly obvious, samurai chatter, and then the creepiness. Over these years, since then, I've experienced that creepiness, the Bigfoot sneaking through the woods. I call it slinking through the woods, like, because they're kind of spider crawling, but they're really slow and they take their time to move, you know, not that far. Yeah. So that's kind of even creepy because when they're taking their time, it's like it's kind of creepy.
And that's probably why they can be so kind of incognito, because they're slow and methodic about their movements. You do hear stories about people getting chased through the woods, like at a really high rate of speed.
Oh, hell no.
Have you ever experienced that or know anyone that's experienced that?
I've been followed out. I wouldn't say chased. I've had other researchers who would say they've been chased, but they got scared and started running out of the woods. So
That would be me.
I'm not sure if they got chased, but yeah, that does happen. I've been paralleled through the woods and have been walked out of the woods and stuff. That does happen.
Yeah. You feel like if they really wanted to hurt you, they're more than capable of doing that, and they would do that. But being unfamiliar with humans, being unfamiliar with them because we haven't officially discovered them yet, we don't really know what they're capable of. But they do seem like mostly peaceful creatures. Would you agree with that?
Yes, from my experience, they're pretty. They're pretty playful and pretty nice going about it. But at the same time, my buddy Val would say that if you cross the line, the revenge is very heavy. They don't tolerate much. Yeah. He has reports of the not so friendly side of Bigfoot, which you don't hear very much often of. But here in Michigan, there's several reports that he has over the years of farmers being found dead, guns being bent in half, attempted kidnappings over in Fowlerville back in I think the 60s, where a Bigfoot actually grabbed a guy, underhooked him, and was walking off until other people walked up on him and dropped him. There are
Traumatized.
Oh my gosh,
there
I've never
are-
heard that.
And Val's group has pictures and stuff of mutilated dogs torn in half, thrown up in trees, bears that are torn apart, bears that are impaled on a branch up in a tree.
Hot damn.
I have a picture that I seen in a hunting group. They didn't know what happened, but a deer's head was completely twisted around like you would wring a washcloth out. That's what the neck looked like.
Oh my gosh.
I had came across the body. It looked like someone had scratched. Either it was someone who dumped a body and they just kind of like cut it. They didn't get meat from it. They did. I don't know what.
Like a deer body, not a human
Yeah, a
body.
deer body. Sorry, deer
I was
body.
like, what?
Yeah, a deer body. Yeah.
Taylor and
Clean it
her
up.
criminal mind was getting excited for a second.
No, that's a different story. No. Where it was like kind of just clawed at. So I have no explanation for that. But Val has reports of them peeing on tents, peeing on people, having a very vindictive sort of humor. So where they like to scare people and stuff. And he would say that they're not friendly at all and would not advise going after them and keeping your kids locked up. And because he thinks that they have no concept of self-ownership or ownership. Everything that's yours is theirs. Mm-hmm. Everything that can be theirs is theirs. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have no shame and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, why would they really? I don't know.
If you're encroaching on their space and their
Right.
territory,
They're
you
like,
know.
thanks for the gifts, now get out.
Yeah. Well, it probably also depends on the person. Like, if you're going out there with not a negative mindset to like hurt them or hunt them, you know, you're just going out there to explore.
Like they can feel your intentions or something.
Yeah, it might be different, but
I kind of put some stock into that, actually. The Native Americans, when you say all Native Americans have Bigfoot stories, not necessarily. There's a lot of tribes that have stories of like wild men or Sasquatch-like creatures, but not all of them can be technically Sasquatch. One example would be Iron Nose is a giant who has an iron nose that comes out like Pinocchio and stabs people, and he wears a little hat that. Just because he's a giant doesn't mean he's Bigfoot, but a lot of people lump all these giants into Bigfoot categories. But here in Michigan and in Canada, of the Algonquin language group, or the Ottawa and the Ojibwa and the Potawatomi, they have a story that's called the Seven Grandfathers Teachings, and it's 7 teachings of like honesty and courage and humility and love, represented by the wolves or the turtle, the eagle. And what is represented for honesty is Sabe, or Sasquatch, and they tell the story of a young Native American boy who later would become a leader, but all the different animals that represented the teachings came up to him in the middle of the night to talk to him and teach him this, to teach the people. And Sabe came to bestow upon the law of honesty and to be always honest. And apparently the Gitche Sabe came out of the forest and spoke to the native in his language and bestowed upon this teaching of honesty to the Native Americans. And so in that particular tribe and language group, they have that represented, and that's highly documented, and it's a belief.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think that there are different types of species or variants of Bigfoot?
Yes, I think so. Based on what I've seen in Florida, it was a very lengthy, skinny-looking creature, and the silhouette I've seen it up in the UP, they looked pretty different, but also my buddy Val really gives a lot of credit to the Miller documents, or the Miller report, which a lot of different people think are fake, or it's a hoax, or it's not real. There's this documents that came out after this old Miller basically passed away, and documents were found in his attic. Basically, the whole reason people don't believe is because they can't find this guy who worked in the university, but Val's very confident that this guy was government, and this is a deathbed kind of confession kind of a thing. But in the report, he describes different species, and they actually gave scientific names of Pacific Northwest creatures and eastern species in a southern variety. In the report, the one thing that was highlighted was that the incompatibility of Sasquatch and people living together, close proximity, that the appetites of these creatures would be insatiable, and then eventually they would go and prey upon people if there's not enough deer or other stuff in the area. So some people think that's full of crap. Val thinks it's legitimate, and that's why they manage all the wildlife areas and have spots that you can't hunt, and even the national forests and stuff.
How much do you think the government knows?
If the government doesn't know, they're not doing their job.
Good point.
Yeah. I think the government knows a lot. And rightly so. I feel like if they are doing their job, they are protecting it, because if people did find out that they did exist, it could go really bad. You know, I mean, we want to prove that Bigfoot exists. We love knowing about it and investigating it. But if we really found out, they would have to be protected. I mean, I know, like, is it the state of Washington has protective laws in place for Bigfoot already?
There's some counties, I believe, in Washington and Northern California too, that you can't hunt Bigfoot, and you'll get fines and stuff.
When they say hunt, you can't go out and with the intentions of killing it. You can
Right.
investigate it, but you can't kill it.
Right,
Okay.
right. And there's other places and companies and people that pay you money for a body.
Yeah. That kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah, the old saying is, like, if you get a body, you'll get $1 million at least in interviews and all this. But there's a lot to go into that. It's not as simple as shooting a Bigfoot. Now you have a 500 to 1,000 pound dead weight body that you got to drag or do something with.
And well, you do hear people that have had encounters with Bigfoot in the woods and have been armed and raised their weapon to shoot at it and couldn't do it because they were so human-like. And it was almost like killing a human. So they couldn't bring themselves to do it. What do you think about that?
I think there's something to that. You know, they look human enough that for some reason it scares a lot of people, or they feel like they don't want to shoot it. What I've seen, it doesn't look human enough for me not to shoot one if one's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I mean, defensively.
And I think that's another reason why the government doesn't want them to know, because everyone would freak out. It'd be like telling everyone, oh yeah, there's Bigfoot in your backyards that you've been living forever, and they're as dangerous as a grizzly if you provoke them, but it's okay, nothing's going to happen because nothing has happened. But the American people can't be trusted enough to take that responsibility.
I agree with that.
How long do you think they live for? Like the lifespan of a Bigfoot?
Well, I have no idea. Based upon gorillas and humans, and they could live, 35 to 65 years old, I would say.
I'm just curious why there's been no body found. Like, if one just dies, you think it's taken care of by the others?
That's a great question, because you would, even if the other Sasquatches do something with the body, they would be loners or lone wolf Sasquatches, rogue Sasquatches that have no family that would, could die. And in the Miller report, they found a body in California that a tree had fell over on it, so they had found that body. I do think that the groups of Sasquatches do something with the body, maybe cannibalize it or take it underground. There's reports of them burying it and planting trees on top of them, with giant skeletons being found when trees are toppled over. Some of that gets into like the Copper Mountain people and the Copper Giants that were found in the same way.
Do you think that's an offspring of the Copper Giants?
If it was, that they're a people who civilization fell and now they're wild people. Because they don't work with copper. They don't have copper armor and axes, what was described medallions and stuff. Those people have these. There would be like, the remnants of survivors and more like savages. And
that brings me to a couple of points. So human species, at one point, there was several different types of species. You have Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, and who won, by the way, and Homo erectus, who actually look more like gorillas or apes. I guess what do you think that could be? Like, they never really went away, they just evolved in a different way?
Yeah, they're always finding groups of people like the Denisovans, and there was another one found in China that is could basically be a Bigfoot, is what they're thinking. So, yeah, I think it's most likely one of them evolved differently, but it's up around us and by us, and but remained a mystery for now.
Do you feel like they're more human than they are primate?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they definitely had like a humanoid language with intelligence and understanding, so that would definitely put them above, like what we consider the animal kingdom. I mean, I don't know if they're not flying jets and have iPhones, but they're pretty smart, I would have to say so.
Yeah, smart enough to be scary. Really scary.
Yeah. Well, they know how to be, and they definitely use those tactics to their advantage.
So what do you say when people, like when you reveal yourself as a Bigfoot investigator and people kind of, I don't know.
Do they say you're full of shit?
They laugh.
At all? Okay.
They laugh.
You get a lot of laughs.
A lot of strange look. Most of the time, it's like, oh, that's cool, and this completely flies over their head. A lot of people are interested, and then sometimes every once in a while you get stories. Oh, you know what? That brings up my dog's always barking, and there's this really foul smell that comes every once in a while. Oh, your house is out where? Backed up to a huge chunk of woods where there's sightings and stuff. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasure. I always break the ice and say, hey, you guys have any Bigfoot stories? Because I want to know. I don't really care about the embarrassment or whatever, because I know they're real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I talk to people, I mean, I work in a professional environment, and I freely tell people like, I'm weird. And if you got weird stuff to talk about, I'm your girl. I'm your huckleberry right here. And they know that Bigfoot's kind of my thing. And people start talking to me about it. And they'll be like, why would you believe in Bigfoot? And I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'm like, they discover new species of animals and insects and things every single day that they didn't even know existed. Do you not believe that a primate that we don't know about could exist in places where people don't really go that much?
Yeah, a lot of people live in boxes.
Yeah.
Can't think outside of it.
And anything outside that box scares them too much.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. People don't, they're in their little bubble and they don't want to think deeper than they have to.
That, and we conquered this land in America. Now we could be on our iPhone. So how could there be a Sasquatch out there when we conquered the land, we never discovered it? So why is it's still here, right?
Yeah. There's millions and millions of acres of land and forest in this country that, one, are not inhabitable because of the terrain, that people don't go to because there's not trails to walk on. It's not easy to navigate. Why wouldn't something that we don't know about live there? And like the stories that you tell is they're really living amongst us.
I truly believe so. I mean, even out here, like I said, this county has 60 reports at least, and I research out here, and I get activity and stuff that happens and stuff that I've recorded. So, and I've been in different places and have a number of activity that leads me to believe there's a pretty heavy population. I'm not sure how many, but enough that if you go out there every single day for a whole month or 2 months, I would say you might have something cross your path.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. We're in central lower Michigan, Ingham County. And where do you think the hot spots in this particular county are?
Your backyard.
Oh, that's comforting.
Well, the sightings and stuff are in people's backyards and private properties and the farmlands and stuff. It's not in these huge chunks. There's no huge chunks of wilderness.
It's not like the state game area or anything like that.
No, not necessarily. I mean, they're everywhere, so they're passing by and stuff. So I wouldn't say they're full time out there living there, but
they're kind of migrating through.
I would say if you went out there every single day for all summer, you would have something happen eventually at 1 or 2 nights, or maybe a couple of those nights, depending on how often they pass through. I don't know, a piece of property was like every 2 weeks they would be back for a couple of days, it seemed like, and then every 2 weeks they'd be back for a couple of days. So
like they're traveling to and from some place, circling.
I think do a big circle and to not dwindle the resources in the area.
And that goes to their intelligence. Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy. I never thought of they could be right there. I just thought they'd always be in the woods or something. But now I'm scared to be home alone now. Nighttime. Not going outside.
Depending on the cycle, obviously we live in farmland. It'll be corn some years all the way around, which I hate that because they can be like 8 foot tall and you just don't know what's in there. Like they could easily pass through there and no one would ever know.
Or kids.
Children of the corn.
That doesn't make me want to go in the cornfields no more.
No.
Not at night, especially not at night.
No.
Well, that's another thing is it doesn't even have to be a huge wilderness spot. It just has to be, what is the human presence at there at any given time? If no one really goes out there besides hunting season, it's game on. They can be out there anytime. If they know, these 2 girls go out in those woods all the time, well, it's not really a good spot to, chill during the day because they're going to be out there. But if there's a piece of property that no one goes out there very often, as long as they're comfortable, I don't think they need really much cover. They just need to be able to hide from people for a couple of days to rest and then move on. So I think it's really about those kind of quiet spots, or if you find a little old lady, old man with 100 acres property and they don't ever go back there, that's prime area.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So let's talk about hoaxes. So there's obviously a lot of hoaxes in the field and people that make up stories for whatever reason to elevate their status or whatever. You you seem like a guy of integrity. I've watched your investigations, and you're not making stuff up. You want the facts. So what would you say about people what would you say to people that hoax?
They're full of shit. They need to get out of this field. Stop muddying the waters.
That sets the community back because it's not true, and it makes people figure that out, and then they think everybody's lying about it.
Yes, I've gone into this probably a little bit more than I should have on my podcast show and got heated debates. And, when you call people out for being full of shit, you should expect flack. But at the same time, if you're presenting evidence of Bigfoot, if you can't handle people tearing it apart and asking you questions, you shouldn't be posting stuff. So
Absolutely.
If you have something, and I've called people out, this guy said that a Bigfoot ran up onto his porch and he did a barrel roll to get out of the way. And on the film, he goes like this with his sweater in front of the camera. And he has this blue kind of furry, shaggy sweater, and he goes like this. And he claims it's a Bigfoot. And I slowed it down, and I broke it down, and he shakes the camera because he does a barrel roll. And he's 60 years old. He's not doing a barrel roll on wood and all this. And it's that laughable stuff that people believe. And I've had people who I thought were a little bit more smarter fall for that same video. And there's this con artist mentality where people will take advantage of good people who just want to believe. They want to believe the story. And, people will be a con artist and sell them a fake story or try to get money out of them or, support me and money this and help fund me this, and that they're all full of shit. I hate it. I hate hoaxers and stuff, and if you were caught hoaxing on my stuff, you'd be gone out of there and exposed.
Yeah.
Because to me, finding the evidence, having the integrity and professionalism is everything. When we go out there and stuff, it's not time to party. It's not time to hang out and get drunk and stuff. And it's not time to talk about Bigfoot at camp and do nothing else but talk about Bigfoot. All that stuff can be done at home on the phone. When you're at camp, it's time to be professional. And I say, you're going to be working 8 hours a day and 8 hours at night. So you might as well get ready for it. And because that's what we need, the integrity and professionalism, not stories from people who are not reliable or people who are, drunk or things like this. Not that, a person who's drunk can't have an experience that's valid. It just, there's a lot of that is not spoken about. People doing all that stuff, and then when things happen, it's like, well, that's not
It's
reliable.
like going to work and being drunk. You're not going to do your best job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you take it as a job. You take it seriously.
That's how I consider it. And being a leader and being a person who's been in the woods and people have had medical issues or people quit or people are freaking out. Like my buddy James, we met and we went out to Waterloo and had stuff happen and vocalizations and tree knocks, and we started filming and we heard this orangutan whoop, and at one point James got so freaked out he started calling out to them like, hey, who's out there, we don't mean you any harm, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to like disturb you. And he was freaking out to the point where he's like, I want to go, he's shaking. And as much as I want to stay there and get something on film, his safety and that becomes the priority. And I've been in other situations and people are, freaking out or something happens, and, people come first, safety comes first. And so you want to be with people who kind of have that in their mind and are professional. Otherwise, someone's going to run in the woods next to going after a Bigfoot and leave you there with when you're not feeling good or you're scared, and it's not good.
Yeah.
When someone wants to do a Bigfoot investigation, what should they prepare themselves to do?
You should learn the sounds of nature before going out and learn survival skills and learn how to, if something happens, what are you going to do? A lot of people want to go out and go searching for Bigfoot, and all they do is spend on the couch for a whole year, and then they get up and go in the woods and then sprain an ankle or worse. You should physically build up yourself, so if you plan on walking miles and miles in the woods, at least you can do it without hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm. How many miles would someone should prepare for in a day investigating?
It depends on the area, but I mean, you want to go. I would say that you would want to walk at least a mile in and a mile out. If No, I mean, if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in the woods by yourself off trail because of something that could happen. If you can't physically do that,
You should get your ass to Planet Fitness.
well, yeah, because if you trip and fall, you could break yourself or impale yourself on something, and a lot of people don't think about that or poke an eye out.
It's not just walking; it's terrain that
And
can be
that's
crazy.
it during the day when you can see everything.
Yeah.
And now at nighttime you can't see anything, and it compounds the chances of you getting injured dramatically.
So that takes me to my next question. A lot of people watch the shows on Discovery Channel and all that stuff, and every time I watch it, the thing that gets me the most is they're all clean, polished, makeup on, probably just shampooed. That stuff smells. Don't you think that anything that's out there is going to pick up that scent? It doesn't belong there, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that could be good or bad. Most of the time animals are going to smell that and instantly get out of the area. But
So are Bigfoot.
yeah, I always tell guys, be careful. Be careful what you do out there, even if you're by yourself, because you might have a female Bigfoot that take interest in you, and that could be a bad thing. Yeah, and a Bigfoot that's interested in you is kind of double-edged sword, because you want one interested in you, potentially capture it on camera, the curiosity playing against it. But if one takes interest in you, male or female, it doesn't matter, and they don't want you to leave, well, they might not let you leave. And there are reports of both male and females not letting the person leave because they want them to stay, they're interested, or they're really interested. And there's actually an old report from Michigan. I don't think it's from Michigan, but the report was given to a Michigan researcher where a female Sasquatch kidnapped a guy and put him into a big old pit and licked his bottom of his feet and his hands until they were completely raw and he couldn't climb out.
Oh my gosh.
And eventually he escaped and got help and was crazed and hysterical, ended up dying a couple days later, but told this story like this wild woman captured him and put him in this pit and did that to him. And that's very dramatic and not something you want a female who likes you to do. You're coming home with me. That doesn't seem like good treatment.
Super scary.
So do you think that most encounters that you have with Bigfoots, do you think they're curious about you, or do you think they want you the hell out of their area?
I think it's both. I think they definitely want you out of the area, but they don't do anything to let you know until they see some reason to, or they're curious. I think most of the time they just are annoyed that people are there and they don't do anything, and because they know people aren't going to be here for a little bit. Old man Fred with his dog is walking down the trail again. Well, in 20 minutes he'll come back and then he'll be gone. It's when the new people come in, the new hunters who's never been there, and like, well, who's this person? What's he going to do? I think they'll be more interested on this because of they don't know the routine of what this particular person is going to be doing in this area, and that piques their curiosity. And they'll do stuff to direct you out and away from other Bigfoot. So they might throw a rock over there and try to hide a family group that's over here, or they might jump out and let you see one running off that way, and the family group's over here, so you don't go after them.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Let's talk about some famous Bigfoot stories. Obviously, the pinnacle of the Bigfoot world, the Patterson-Gimlin film. What do you think about that?
I think that's legit. I think the subject on the film is not a person in a costume, but what has come out is a lot of drama and rumors and kind of fishy stuff when it comes to the actual details of the filming and stuff like that. For one example, Bob Gimlin says he doesn't know how to use the camera. He's never used it. In other interviews, he said, "Oh yeah, I used it." Of course, there's someone who has the camera and is filming Robert Patterson on horses too, so it has to be Bob.
But he is really old now.
Yes, yes, he is, and Robert Patterson planned to have a documentary about Bigfoot, and Bigfoot happened to show up and stuff, and there was a little speculation on more film and stuff like that, but I think the film itself is legit.
I feel like the film is legitimate too, and it's really the only piece of solid evidence that's never been able to be debunked.
Yeah, it's been regularly tested like no other film, and it still stands the test of time.
Yeah, and that was 1967, and technology didn't exist at that time to be able to build a costume that moved in a way with muscular, all the things. So I think it's true. What do you think of Dyatlov Pass? Do you think that was a Bigfoot?
It was something weird. Whether or not it was a Bigfoot, maybe. I mean, it is the only time that a government has come out and said a force of unexplainable force caused the deaths of people. Because the people were found, some of them had like missing eyes and tongues were ripped out, and some were beat up and smushed, and the Russians have came out and said, well, they were testing rockets and stuff and all sorts of things, but that doesn't explain why the people, how they got the injuries physically. They might have got scared out of the tent by a rocket going off, but being smushed and the tongues ripped out and an eyeball, I think was gone, and one of the people tried to climb up a tree. They tried to start a fire and stuff, so something happened.
Can you explain it? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
1958, there was a group of college students in Russia that were doing some research, and they hiked out, and it's called Dyatlov Pass, and in the middle of winter, and it was a long journey, cold. I could never have done it, but they tented in the wilderness, and throughout the investigation, they were keeping journals, and they were filming and taking pictures and all this stuff. And their mental state, I would say, kind of deteriorated, and there was some odd pictures that were taken, and then they ended up getting killed. And it was pretty horrendous. They were kind of spread out over an area. They're all staying in the same tent. It was a big tent. And I think there was 11 of them, 8 of them. There was quite a few of them. And they found them basically naked or half naked, no shoes, no coats, in the middle of winter, beat up, bruised, missing eyeballs, missing tongues, like completely like smushed, like something picked them up and like smashed them. Like gave them a giant bear hug and just cracked them. And then the story is that it was a Yeti or a Bigfoot that did it. I did see recent reports that they say it's an avalanche, but there's a lot of reports, and the KGB and all that stuff involved. We're never going to get like the full reports of what happened, but there was some reports that the Russian government was modifying primates, Sasquatch, to be military weapons, and then putting them out into the woods to test them.
Honestly, I can't say that I would put that past our government, because I think
the Russian government,
or the Russian government for sure. Yeah, any government, you know. That's crazy.
Pretty crazy. And around that same time, they were also trying to breed humans with primates, and allegedly were successful with that. So
that's weird.
Yeah. Pretty creepy. If someone had a Bigfoot sighting and they wanted to report it somewhere, what would the process be?
I would recommend going to Gumshoe Guys Corner, Michigan Bigfoot Data and Reports on Facebook, and contacting Val because he has the biggest data research project in Michigan and I think the U.S. that I know of for sure. But you could go to the BFRO and let them know also. Honestly, it's just as soon as it happens, write it down of where, date, environment, when, where, and what happened, and as fast as you can so it's fresh in your memory and it's down on paper. That's the biggest thing, because you don't want to lose on those fine details that really matter to researchers like us, and that might not matter to everyday people. And
if someone did report a sighting, would there be follow-up investigations potentially?
It depends on honestly who you go through. you could tell anyone the Bigfoot report, doesn't mean people are going to go out there. If you tell the BFRO, they have a pretty big network that they'll contact you and talk to you and possibly send researchers out there with you to be on site. If you talk to Val and stuff, he would contact local researchers like myself or other people, and we would go out there. If you contacted me, I would go out there and send my group out there.
Okay, awesome. A couple questions. Do you ever hope we find Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And what do you think would happen if we did find Bigfoot?
A firestorm of different stuff. In the Bigfoot community, I think all the bigwig scientists would come in and shove us all aside and say, we don't need you anymore, and we're going to do it ourselves. And even though we've been doing it and have evidence and know what we're doing and stuff, I think that would potentially be it. They could potentially outlaw people hunting or going into certain woods and national parks and forests. It would cause a lot of issues with tourism and going out in public parks or recreational areas. I don't think it would be a nice, easy, smooth path for anything other than Bigfoot's discovered, it's legitimate. Everything else would be mass chaos, and not like America crumbling over, but the fear of no one can go outside anymore because there could be Bigfoot out there. I think that is too much of a panic for the government to allow.
Yeah. Do you do public Squatch petitions?
Yes and no. I'm having the conference, and we're gonna have a camp out where people can come, but they need to contact me first. The problem, the amazing awesomeness of having people out there is also the problem is not everyone's professional, respectable, and have the integrity to actually go out there and conduct a real investigation. A lot of people just want to have fun or go for the ride, and when you're getting your face chewed off by mosquitoes and there's scary stuff around you and you're about to pee yourself because you're scared, a lot of things come out. And so I try to pick people who I will go out publicly with, who I think are professional, respectable, and that sort of sense. And will control themselves if they do get scared, and not whip out a gun and start shooting in the woods and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your event. You have an event this year?
Yes, the Michigan Bigfoot and Dogman Conference, September 26th. That's Friday, noon to 6. And then after that, we're having a camp out that you guys could go to. Just had to inform me, and then I have to approve.
Is that in the local Michigan area?
Yeah, it's in Mason, Michigan for the event, and then the camp out is going to be over in Waterloo.
Okay. All right. Very good. And how would someone contact you?
You can go to the Lost Cryptids Conservatory Facebook page, Facebook group, and on the YouTube. We have different links to email me, and then the ticket link for the event to contact me that way. It's a free event this year. I just asked that people register online so I know how many people are going, but it is a free event this year.
Personal reflection. What's something that you learned about yourself through your Bigfoot investigations?
That no one else is going to do it but me, because I have to. Well, in terms of having to, do what's needed in my when I'm on an expedition, I seem to be the only camera guy. I seem to be the guy who has the thermal, the night vision, the camera, the audio, and I only have two hands, and I can't run everything. And so I guess relying on myself, especially being by myself, and because in certain situations, other people can be completely scared, and I'm fine. And it's nice being able to just be by myself and not have to worry about what other people are going to react and do.
When you're out in the woods and you're not scared of Bigfoot, what scares you the most?
Spiders.
I was gonna say ticks. I hate ticks.
Oh, they're just a disgusting annoyance that really, honestly, in some areas, I'm not going to even go until July because they are just infested right now that I know instantly I will get one if I walk in the woods or more. So I don't,
You're like putting the duct tape on your clothes.
No, heavy amount of DEET, but I had, I don't know, like 5 or 6 last year. The other year that were on me, some that were attached, and it's not good. So
Yeah, I hate ticks.
So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. It's been interesting and educational. And until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and above all, stay unusual.
Bye.